to the Franchise Growth Show, where we don't just talk scale, we talk transferability. I'm Joe Carter, founder of the Twin Flame Group and partner with the Franchise Consulting Company. Built, scaled, and sold multiple companies, working inside of private equity, doing due diligence on more than $14 billion worth of deals. I know what makes buyers chase and what makes them walk. And today's guest, she's scaling with both purpose and with profit. Terri Braun is the founder and president of Kidokinetics, a mobile youth fitness franchise that is helping kids fall in love with movement. Since launching the first program back in 1995, Terri has grown the brand to over 150 franchise territories, with a mission to change lives through play. If you're a founder looking to blend impact with income, or a buyer looking for a multi-channel, low-overhead opportunity, this episode is for you. Quick shout out to our sponsor. This episode is brought to you by the Twin Flame Group, where we help founders turn revenue into transferable value. So if your business is scaling, but you're still too dependent on you, then we should talk. Visit Twin Flame TX to download our free strategic growth blueprint. Let's jump right into it. First and foremost, Terri, thank you so much for taking time out of your super busy day to be on this episode with us and our audience. We appreciate you.
Thank you for having me.
Of course. So let's do kind of the old DeLorean time travel trick and go backwards in time. Take us back. What inspired you to create Kidokinetics back in South Africa?
I was born in South Africa, and I started doing karate when I was 8 years old, and I started to teach kids when I was 12. And I had this unbelievable draw towards kids and just a passion and maybe even a little bit of a soft spot, and just truly wanted to help kids who maybe didn't have the same opportunity as everyone else. And so I started to teach karate and was teaching a lot of private karate lessons. And then I realized that karate is so good for your coordination and your concentration and your fine and gross motor skills. However, not every child loves karate. And it's a very popular thing to do in South Africa when you're young, but I realized that wasn't going to be the case everywhere. And I wanted kids to reap those benefits, but not necessarily having to only do karate. So I met with several physical therapists, occupational therapists. I even sat with a pediatric neurologist and just learned what it is that helps our brain grow. And essentially, it's movement. However, movement is not what it used to be. So the program has definitely evolved over all of these years. But however, back when I started it in South Africa, it was really just, which it still is today, a fun introduction to physical education. And we focus a lot on the non-competitive. So you're never going to hear us say, on your marks, get set, go, or can you beat the person next to you? It's can you run faster than you did before? Can you throw better than you did before?
I love that. And we got some similarities. I did martial arts growing up for about 12 years. So I know that is a great way to instill physical education to a young child. But obviously you took it and ran with it. And for everybody out there listening, this is a blueprint moment. Yeah, she just shared personal insight that scares repeatable value, and that's what we look for in the franchise buyer's blueprint. I love that. Kudos to you for doing all of that, all that research to be able to amplify and impact children. That's fantastic. As you pivoted and brought that concept into the United States, what were the biggest challenges in adapting or growing here versus abroad?
So bringing it here is was definitely a challenge because schools at the time that I brought it used to have maybe movement. Look, a lot of the elementary schools had physical education, but a big portion of our market is that early childhood, and the early childhood centers did movement, but movement and music, which is great, but there was no focus on actually developing kids appropriate skills that are needed for every age group and meeting those milestones. And the biggest challenge was selling this concept, where today it's somewhat the norm in all of these early childhood centers. And at the time that I even started it here, I had to go into the schools sell them on the benefits and that we need it. And then that was when the schools realized this is a missing part. And then once one school had it, the competing school maybe close by needed to have it too, because a parent walking in, we see that all the time today. We see, as we're coaching, we see directors bringing parents in for a tour of the school, and they very much will use, and this is our PE program that follows the National Association for Sports and Physical Education guidelines. So it is definitely used as a selling point, but I would say our biggest challenge was making people understand that this is something that we need.
And obviously you close that gap pretty quickly and very successfully, and that's where brand transferability gets tested. Adapting an international model that requires operational clarity in the US and getting in on the ground level, and obviously you clearly did that. So fantastic job, and kudos to you. Kudos. Oh, that I just realized that's kind of touching slightly on the name of the company, so I'm going to have to use a different terminology again. As we pivot over and kind of talk mission, market fit, that kind of a thing, childhood inactivity is rising fast. You referenced that there's a lot of kind of child education or developmental centers out there. So how does Kidokinetics uniquely tackle that trend?
So just a fun fact that a child's brain is 90% developed by the time they're 5 years old. So those first 5 years are so crucial, and the way that their brain grows and develops is through movement. So these are the critical years, and this is the time that we need to get kids moving. And it's so sad what's happening. This is going to be a generation where we're not going to outlive our parents age-wise. I was reading a book recently and was so fascinated by this, but my children are 18, 22, and 23, and I was telling them that I am going to be the last generation to show their children how to play outside. And that's really a sad fact that this is what's happening. And really what's happening is two things. We don't allow our kids to get out and play, and there is no play-based childhood anymore. But what's happening to them while they're sitting on these devices all day is detrimental to their to just almost every part of their development, but especially their brain. And we are wiring them to be in a way that is going to be hurtful to them as they grow up, whether it's socially, physically. I mean, just you need a strong core to roll out of bed in the morning. It's one of those things. And these kids are lacking all of that. So this is not even a want or a luxury, or this is an absolute necessity that parents take this seriously.
I couldn't agree more. As a parent and now a grandparent, I echo everything that you just said. There's too many electronic devices and screens in front of kids' heads, especially in those early years. And you're right, we're very likely the final generation to show or at least model the behavior of going outside to play. So we got to find an alternative solution. And that's where you're not just solving a need, you've created an entire category. So congratulations there. Why focus on a mobile kind of multi-sport, non-competitive style model? What was the gap that you were seeing in the youth sports market that made you want to go that direction?
So there's so much competitive sports programming out there for children, and I always use this example, but it's just so true, is I have 3 kids, and one truly thrives on that competitive, loves the game, the winning, the lose, all of that. The others really enjoy all 3 of them enjoy the sports, but the other 2 are more, don't really care about that final game. So they'd be the ones that would enjoy the practice, but not really love to be a part of a game where there's an outcome of a winner and a loser. And that percentage of children is so much higher than the ones that enjoy the competitive. So you're taking, a percentage of children and you're saying, we have programming for you, and then you're leaving a much larger percentage of children and saying, there's nothing for you to do. When you get to a certain age, and parents are starting younger and younger, and that's another whole story of how young they're putting their kids into one sport. What's happening is parents are if their child is not wanting to be on a baseball team or a soccer team or whatever, there is nothing for them to do. So we needed to put something back into this world where, and I use this example a lot, but if I want to be physically active, I don't need to join a team. I can go for a walk, I can go to the gym, and that's my outlet. There is no outlet for children. So this is their outlet. We are essentially, sadly, teaching children how to play, which we shouldn't have to do, but this is what this world has come to. But I want children to have a basic understanding of how you play. Which way do you run on the bases? How do you throw a ball? How do you bounce a ball? How do you hold a lacrosse stick? And that is part of the combination of why we put the sports into it. So we could give kids that basic understanding and then allow them to feel more confident, because I think that is partly the problem, is that kids are not confident to go out and play. And we think about how we used to play when we were younger. We would play hide and go seek, and just that alone is like running and anticipation and hiding and then sprinting, and these things are not happening anymore. So we have to facilitate that for children. But at the end of the day, I felt like this was a very big gap in the market where kids need somewhere where they can have fun, play, and not worry about somebody doing better than them.
I love it. It kind of pulls at your emotional heartstrings just a little bit, especially as a parent, grandparent. But from a business standpoint, mobile plus non-competitive is a massive addressable market. And it's about inclusion, to your point, versus exclusion. So even the kids who necessarily don't have that competitive thing built into them, they can still be a part of it and still learn all of those skills and develop as a young child into young adulthood. So a fantastic job for recognizing that need and closing the gap. As we talk about the model, obviously your brand provides franchisees with multiple revenue streams. Could you walk us through how the business makes money at the franchisee level?
Sure. So there's two customers. We have the B2C and the B2B. So our B2B is our school decision makers. It could be parents on the PTA, the director, the principal, the athletic director. They bring us in to be the physical education program for the school. And I know what goes through so many people's minds is, why don't they have a PE teacher? And there are so many schools out there who are not big enough, don't have the means, and don't have the need for a full-time PE teacher. So they are far better off outsourcing. And that brings me back to something you asked just before, that the reason we're mobile is we can come to you. So we don't need you to come to us. We come to you, we bring all the equipment. Part of our philosophy is if there are 18 kids, there's 18 volleyballs, tennis rackets, golf, whatever sport we're introducing, every child is moving for the time that we're there. You are never going to see 18 kids dribbling, sitting down while one child is dribbling a ball. It just doesn't happen. They are all getting maximum movement out of the time that we're there. So our one customer is the decision maker, the school, the institution that wants to bring us in to be their PE program, which could be during the summer camp, the school year. They could have us come in when school's closed if they want us to run some kind of camp. It could be anything. It can be an early release day. And then our other customer is the parent. So that is if we are at a school, and we could be at a school for multiple things. We could be at a school for PE and then do enrichment. And they call that something different all over. They call it extracurricular clubs, enrichment, but all the same thing. It's where you opt in to sign your kids up for that program. So you choose to sign up. It's typically a 45-minute class, and that can be done at a school. It can be done at a local park or community center. It can be done at your clubhouse or an apartment building that has a room for kids. So it can be really done anywhere or at a local park. So those are our two kinds of customers. We are all year round. So it's summer, it's school days off, it's during the school year, it's throughout the whole year.
That's fantastic, and that's exactly the kind of model that most buyers absolutely love. A recurring stream that can initiate or at least begin at a B2B level, but easily be able to pivot and transition and bring in B2C clients or customers that you got through the B2B partnership. So it's how you create recurring and diversified and replicatable revenue streams. So that's amazing that you kind of go all around.
Yeah, and our marketing costs are fairly low because our customers are typically within the school system or at a local park where they're sending something home to all the homes. So our marketing costs, just by luck, happens to be fairly low.
That's even better. So I know you have infused curriculum with tech. So how do those tools help a franchisee deliver better outcomes?
Well, my answer to that question today is going to be very different if you ask me that in 2-3 weeks, because it's constantly evolving just with how we're doing it. But we're currently building an app where a coach can have access to our proprietary curriculum. And that is, just you have to incorporate some of that tech. And we have a platform that we built called Kiddo Central, where franchisees can go on, they can access everything, they can send messages to the parents. Big fan of Franchisee, which we're starting to use as well. That is just kind of like a one-stop shop for our operating system that we can use. Our franchisees can have access to it. So I would say my passion is far stronger in coaching the kids than it is in the tech side, but I am listening to what our franchisees have to say. And to me, that is the fundamental part that is so needle moving, is to listen to what they're asking for and to keep up with the times. So bringing in the tech side and integrating it with what we do is definitely something we're constantly working on all the time.
I love that. Congrats on that. Couldn't agree more. One of the first few questions that I always get from my franchise clients is, what is the tech stack? Like, what do they provide? Is it a CRM system, a POS system? What is it? Is it proprietary? Is it third party? Like, kudos to you and the team for hearing and listening to your franchisees' feedback and then being able to actually implement and do something about it. That's amazing. How do you onboard and support new franchisees so that they launch successfully?
Using these kind of systems where we have, we start off with a virtual where, we try and have them do as much as they can from wherever they are. Whatever we need to do in person, we want to focus on that when they come in. But just an initial onboarding, getting them started, we want to hold their hand. We want to be their best friend for as long as they need it, just that hand holding and being there. And then bringing them in for training. That is the key part of this, to see the program in action. We're able to take them to a program inside, outside. One of our schools is like on the 6th floor of a building. And so just all different kinds of scenarios, different age groups, different types of classes. And we like to show them as much as we can, just so they have that understanding. And then we wrap it up with some more virtual training on, we hit everything from sales to marketing to the operations of the business. And there's a lot of hand holding just because there's so many moving pieces, but we're constantly having conversations with the franchisees, because what I found is we tell them everything in the first onboarding as they purchase their franchise, and then 6 months later they're asking what happened with this, and we went over that, but I understand it's a lot to take in. So there's really good timelines that we have of when you should talk to schools about the summer, when you should. So we constantly reminding them about that until they get the swing of things and feel like they've got control over it.
That's simply fantastic that you're creating systems that blends like a hybrid approach of teaching and learning for the franchisees, that blends virtual and in-person and kind of like a continuing education, so to speak, type thing post initial onboarding, so that there's constantly a way that they can continue to develop and refine their skills and drive your brand inside their market. So, talking about the model itself and the kind of a franchisee fit, I got many clients that are looking for something in the childhood education or developmental space, but not every brand is a great fit for everyone. So, who thrives inside of your model? Are there traits or mindsets that you've seen in the past that can predict future success?
For sure. You, we've been through a few, so really know what works, what doesn't work. And ultimately, you want, first of all, somebody who's looking for a passion, mission driven franchise, somebody who really does care about kids. You want someone who is local to their community. That is a big must. It is a very much a relationship based business where you get out there and you're talking to people, and you might be standing in line at the coffee shop and there's a mom behind you with kids and sees your shirt. You just want to have conversations. You want to join your chamber and you want to meet maybe somebody's wife is the PTA president, and these are the things that are needle moving, the very low hanging fruit that if you don't live in your state or you're not local, you miss those key opportunities, and no one's going to care more about the business than the owner themselves. So that's very important. People are often thinking that we're looking for somebody who's athletic, and we're looking for more somebody who knows how to work with kids, and a buyer might not have intentions of actually being the coach, and obviously they're going to grow the business, but they need to be able to have some skin in the game. We find that our most successful franchisees today are the ones who have coached, who have driven to schools, who've experienced everything, and then as they've built up the program, stepped back and then hired people, and they're able to keep them because they truly understand that they are the one, what they're doing. That drive is not always fun. Sometimes you're stuck in traffic, but just finding really passion, mission-driven people who care. And also, it might take a little bit of time to build up, to get your business up and running, which is it in any business as it should, as you're building it, really ramping up. But I always use the example of we're sort of no different to a storefront that you're building out. Just consider those first 6 months to a year as you're getting your feet wet and talking to different schools and parents as the build out. And then once you've come a full cycle, that's when people start hearing about you and trusting you, because you're dealing with people's children. You got to do the right thing. So that's where we see a full circle, where once you get contracts in schools, they tend to stay for 10, 15 years. In South Florida, we've been with some of our schools for over 20 years. The kids change, but the parent, the school stays.
Consistency of, the child's going to grow up, but the next, set of children are coming in right behind them.
So you have today with my first group. I'm seeing kids that I taught getting married and now having kids, and so it's coming around a full circle, and it's great.
Love that. And obviously founder fits or franchisee fits, but really that's what builds a brand, and the clarity that you just provided, having someone that is really passionate about children and passionate about networking within their community are kind of like the two level sets of kind of non-negotiables, really, to be able to be successful in your brand. So thank you for bringing that clarity. Are there any stories out there from the field that really capture what Kidokinetics is all about?
There's several of them. The one that probably comes to mind is I had a little boy that very soon out of COVID had started my program, and I happened to be teaching. It was a parent-child class, and every week the mom was looking at other kids and seeing how they were throwing, and her son was not. And kids who were born during COVID missed a lot of key opportunities, the social, the bumping into other kids, all these things that start, getting your brain fired up. And you're suddenly now surrounded by 15 other kids that are all your age. But she would watch other kids and she'd say, I've made an appointment for speech therapy, for physical therapy, for occupational therapy. Somebody needs to, help him. And I said, can you just give me just a couple of weeks with him, and she was blown away by maybe 6 weeks in. Um, just something as simple as throwing a ball without running, so having that reflex, he was able to do. He was able to throw, he was able to catch, and that just goes to say that our go-to, it seems like the norm is, let me sign my kids up for therapy. And a lot of the time, these kids just need
therapy is not always the answer. Play pretty much can be. So that's not just a story. That's market differentiation, and really separates your brand from many others out there because they're slightly more therapeutic versus playful. And I
right.
love the playful aspect. You partner with some pretty major child care networks. How did that help accelerate the growth strategy?
Um, just that is on a high level something that we are always focused on, and something that we're one of our big goals for 2026 is to solidify some more of those partnerships. We'd like to go in and become their preferred vendor, which is it's great for our franchisees. And just because they're a preferred vendor doesn't always mean there's going to be kids that sign up or that they're going to use us. But it's been great for our franchisees. It's a foot in the door, and maybe not an immediate no that they might hear sometimes. Although we don't hear that very often, we hear more maybe not now, or we never hear somebody say no to the program. Sometimes they have something, and there's always a way for us to talk about getting in. But those national partnerships and what we're going to push through for 2026 is just solidifying more of those partnerships, uh, just to help our franchisee.
I love that. Stacking distribution channels, that's not just scaling, that's integrating. So fantastic job there. Forecasting out, what's like the 3 to 5 year vision for Kidokinetics?
Just so I would say on the franchise growth side, we took a little bit of a break in 2025 and just did a little bit of refreshing and rebranding, and so 2026 and the next 3 years is just to ramp up our franchise sales, get some of the right owners in that can join some of our owners now, or most of our owners that are great fits, and just getting more like-minded people in that care and want to be a part of growing this and making it a household brand name. So just really franchise growth, but then also us as a company evolving on the tech side, getting more out there, marketing, just becoming more visible to the community, and just trying to get this into as many places as possible, because it's great for our current franchisees to have more work, but on the other side, every one of our franchisees, along with all of us, see the benefits, and we all want to get as many kids moving as possible.
Love that. You're obviously going to be able to impact so many more lives through increasing your franchisee territory network. So can't wait to see that actually come to fruition. What is something that you wish you knew earlier as a founder that was scaling for impact?
I would say slow and steady wins the race, which I think I always knew, but it's so easy to get caught up in the sale and wanting to grow and wanting to close a deal. But there is nothing more critical than having the right franchisee in your brand. And not having that can be so detrimental. So just, I would say those are those two things. And then the other thing I would say is, if you are not franchising and you're thinking of franchising, I wholeheartedly believe in finding your people a la carte, the best marketing people, the best franchise attorney, the best. There's no one-stop shop where somebody is the best all under one roof, unless all those individual people come together. But I would say do your due diligence. The time that I did it, internet was not as it is today, and I definitely made some mistakes along the way, but certainly learned from those.
There you go, everybody. There's Terry's cheat codes for a potential emerging franchisor. Go find the best of everything and put them together and make them your team. If you still have a few more minutes, I have just a couple like kind of quick hitter type questions, if you don't mind. Awesome. What is the most like unforgettable kid or parent reaction?
I mean, one that comes to mind is that mom who was just blown away by her kid being able to throw and catch a ball where she immediately thought my child needs therapy. And there's so many, just seeing kids out there that you coach and know you, and then you've got kids who are so shy and don't do your program, and then you bump into them and their mom, and they say they come home and do it all, once they come home. So just seeing kids believe in themselves, because they hear so much negativity all the time. We do this when we teach. We try and teach with more positive instead of, no, you didn't throw well. It's like, that was a good try. Can we try again? Just getting kids, we're trying to give them the confidence that they need and the confidence they have. It's such a competitive world right now that it's taking a toll on these kids.
Love it. I love the positive reinforcement as well. What's one franchisee win that made you a little
I
emotional?
have one of my franchisees who had some very big contracts and lost their contract. Um, it was a big hit to them, and he just sent me something about a week ago, and he's like, "I just want you to know we made up that revenue." It's so easy to give up, uh, but the ones that don't, it's just amazing. It's truly amazing. I've had a lot of franchisees along the way tell me, this can be hard, it can take its toll, and then there's always that moment where they're making an impact and they come back and they say, that's why I do it.
I love that perseverance, like that indomitable spirit type thing. That's fantastic. I've heard that there's a kind of future goal of 2026 going forward. So I'd love for you to try to like fill in the blank and share that vision with us if you don't mind. But Kidokinetics will be the blank of children's wellness.
So Kidokinetics' big goal is to get 1 million kids moving. So that is something that we are on the rise. We will get there, and we will impact 1 million kids.
I love that. 1 million kids, it's happening. Mark it down. It's not a goal, it's just to be occurred. So I can't wait to see it, and I'm sure you and your team are going to get there. Terry, this was incredible. Seriously, this was like one of the best episodes that I've ever done because it pulls at your heartstrings a little bit, but there's also an awful lot of transferability and certainly a big opportunity within the space. So you're scaling more than just a brand. You're scaling confidence, movement, and opportunity. So thank you for your time and being on with us today.
Thank you for having me.
Absolutely. And to everybody out there listening, scroll down in the comments. We will throw in the website, all the social channels to Terri and her team if you want to check out Kidokinetics and learn even more about how their brand is shaping 1 million plus children's lives going forward. And if you're inspired by the idea of building something lean, purpose-driven, and profitable, don't miss my upcoming live webinar on February the 8th. The 18 Play Exit Readiness Framework, where I show you exactly how private equity values businesses and how you can apply that to yours. So until next time, everyone, let's get out there and build strategically. Thank you, everyone. Have a fantastic rest of your